So my name is Morgan First, and I started the publishing company. Actually, I was still in school. I was at Emerson, and I was part of this publishing group called Developed Images, and our job as a publishing group was that we basically worked with students, we gathered their photography, and we put them into various publications. And like, we created the publication, and we were trying to think of, you know, multiple ways that we could expand and find even more ways to incorporate student photography into different pieces that people used every day. We already had, you know, just kind of your typical photo book, and then I helped create a postcard book, which was postcards of all the student work. And so I was backpacking Europe, and, you know, was always using my travel guide, and then I always had my planner with me, and I thought, what a great idea if we made a guide to Boston that was a planner so you could keep track of your schedule, but every week it highlighted a different place in Boston, and we can use the student photography every week. And in the fall, after the summer, after I'd been backpacking around Europe, I returned to Emerson, and I was in an entrepreneurship course, which was perfect. I hadn't even ever thought of really starting my own company, and still I was thinking of this idea for Developed Images, but halfway through the semester, trying to do it with the school, it just, you know, wasn't working out. They didn't have it in their budget, just, you know, things weren't exactly going to fit. And my teacher was like, you know, Morgan, you have this huge passion for this project you keep telling me about. Why isn't that your company? And I was like, wow, you know, I've been into publishing for ages. I have interned at various publications and stuff. I interned at Shambhala in Boston. I interned at Teen Magazine in Los Angeles. And so I thought, that's great. I'll start a company. I'll start my own publishing company, and I will create a guide to Boston for all those people who are moving here or have moved here for school or moved here after school and really want to get to know the city and not feel like a tourist. And so then through the entrepreneurship class, I really built up my entire business plan. And by December, I was supposed to go back in the spring to, you know, finish the course and to graduate. And I just had everything ready and realized that if I didn't start that company now, I wouldn't have a product ready for the fall. So I went home and I was like, Dad, I have everything ready. I figured out I can graduate early. You know, you're going to be spending X amount of money on Emerson in the spring. How about you give me that money that you're going to spend on tuition as seed money, and I start the company? And my parents bought it, and they were like, that sounds awesome. And so in January, I started everything up, and in February, we officially filed for our LLC, and I started officially hiring staff. I already had kind of gathered friends from Emerson. A good friend who I'd done photography with ended up being our photographer. A good friend who I'd done writing with ended up being our writer because she really helped me develop the voice and everything. So that's kind of in a nutshell how it started. I think as a freshman, I was a little bit confused and daunted by coming to Boston, even from big city Los Angeles. Like Los Angeles, I didn't know where all the cool spots were. And it's just nice to be able to talk to people and have them be like, you know what, I was able to explore something new. Like, I never went to Jamaica Plain, but I went there and I had a great time because of your book, which is really exciting for me. And that's really my goal, to just have people explore more, have people go on more adventures and like really enjoy the city that they're in and enjoy Boston. Sounds a little bit nerdy, but when Cosmo Girl, it's a magazine, came out when I was in 9th grade, the editor-in-chief was Atuza Rubinstein, and she actually started Cosmo Girl at the age of 26. And so it was really cool because, at least in the first issues especially, you could hear her voice so much in it, and you could hear like the passion of someone that just wanted to do something so badly, and here's what they had done. And so I was like, that's it. I love publishing. Like, I want to be just like that. I want to go into publishing and be the editor-in-chief of something and really like have you hear my voice and have you know that this is something special that I created. When I was at Emerson, working on our publications, I was the editor-in-chief my junior and senior year, and I actually was the person interacting with the printer. I was the one kind of leading all the students, like, oh guys, this is the, you know, what do you think of this design? So it was already kind of team building skills. So at least the beginning was an easy transition, and then it was kind of like, okay, I run my own company. Ooh, okay. And that was a little bit scary at first. I think what really helped me was Boston has a group called the Boston Young Entrepreneurs, and I also joined Ladies Who Launch, which is like a female networking kind of business group. And so I was essentially able to build my own network of people around me that were doing the same thing, and really made me feel more comfortable. Like, oh, you're going through that same trouble? Okay, that's great. Like, how did you deal with it? Okay, great. That's advice for me to help deal with it. So I think that really helped make the jump from kind of just being a student to doing my own thing. I had worked a lot in publishing, but I didn't know that much about distribution, because when I was at the magazine, it's all magazine sales, and I hadn't really worked in that department. And then when I was at the book publishing company at Shambhala, they dealt all through distributors that did everything for them. So it was tricky because I kind of had to figure out, like, okay, how do I approach a bookstore? How do I do my own distribution? Which was interesting, but it was really nice because Michael at the Trident, which is just around the corner here, was really nice and kind of talked through a few things with me. And also Carl Baer, who's the entrepreneurship teacher, happened to have a brother-in-law who worked in book publishing and was able to kind of send me some information, be like, you know, this is what you're going to want to be sending people. This is the price scale that it's going to need to be within, you know, scaled down from the normal retail price. So that was nice. I think it's definitely a process of thinking, of really being able to think on your feet when you're an entrepreneur and when you're starting something, like really being able to be like, all right, so don't know the answer. Who am I going to go ask to find this answer? Well, I think one of the things that, like you said, with the challenges, is that every week is kind of like an up or a down. It's like, all right, you're super stressed this week and there's so much to do and whatever. Or we were in the press this week and, you know, we sold 30 books and it was a huge big deal. So Borders just started carrying it this year. And I think maybe a really big highlight, but just something that made the company for me, was that last year I was basically trying to talk to all these publishing houses, bigger places besides Trident or besides Brookline Booksmith or, you know, little bookstores in Boston, about carrying the book. And we had like a dummy sample, like it's hidden in a box somewhere, like 5 sheets of what the planner was supposed to look like, a few little write-ups, an idea of a cover. I mean, nothing to what anything of this is today. And that's what I was sending out. And I sent it to Barnes & Noble, and I had to call to get this person, to get that person. So I finally got the woman. I finally sent her the stuff, and she looked at it, and she said to me, this is one of the best things that's come across my desk. And I'm like, holding my breath, like, really? I'm like, so what do you guys think? And after some debating, we had to like finagle a little bit about the price. We actually ended up making it $13.95 last year instead of $14.95 like I had hoped. But Barnes & Noble, the woman was like, yeah, we'll definitely carry it. This looks like a great book. It's fantastic. I'm really excited. Like, good job, Morgan. She kind of knew a little bit of the fact that I was like a smaller publishing house. And that was just so exciting because I really felt like we'd worked so hard for this to be something that was going to be awesome for students to pick up, but that was also going to be a great way to plan your schedule. I'm a huge planner person, so we tried so hard for it to really like be something that was going to have as much space as you wanted, but also be in a really compact space and be able to be carried around. And the fact that she really acknowledged that was like, all right, we've done something awesome. Like, I thought we did something awesome, but somebody else agrees, and somebody else who's really important agrees, so fantastic. So that was really exciting because that really got the ball rolling from there. Whenever we were talking to places or whenever we were dealing with anyone, they were like, all right, what are you? Like, we didn't have the book print. I think also having the first book printed was huge because before we had the first book printed, we had this like little sample and we're like, well, we're this company. And they're like, okay, sure. No, you're not. Like, what do you have to show? Like, you don't have anything to show. You're nowhere. What? But having Barnes & Noble's name behind us at that point was like, well, we're going to be in Barnes & Noble. And so everyone was kind of like, oh, you're going to be in Barnes & Noble, are you? All right, then we'll listen. So that was really exciting. And I think more so than a highlight, that was like a justifiable reason for my company to keep going almost, which was really cool and exciting. So one of the big things that we did from last year's book to this year's book was last year we did a lot of focus groups to figure out exactly what people wanted. But then, you know, we didn't have a physical product. So this year we went back again and we were like, all right, you guys have owned the planner. And then we had another group of people who hadn't owned the planner. And we're like, what did you like? What didn't you like? What do you want to see more of? So it was really exciting because we really got to change some things and make the product better for people. One of the things they said was that people liked seeing their weekends next to each other like this instead of last year we had it as a faux bar. So we swapped that and we actually even changed the design because people felt like when it went into the gutter that they had more writing space. So we expanded the writing space, and it's strange because people have picked up the newer book and said that they feel like it looks bigger, which is great for us because we're like, you know what, it's the exact same size, and if you think it looks bigger and there's more space for you to write, then that's exactly what we wanted. I think one of the great things about publishing today, if you want to go into your own publishing company or something of the sort, is that there are so many companies like Lulu, which you can kind of self-publish, or the fact that desktop publishing has become such a high-tech technology that anybody can essentially approach, that it's not like 20 years ago when publishing a book was like, not that it's not an amazing feat, but it's a lot more accessible, I think, to the everyday person today, which is really nice. But for me, I think just like it's the creating of a project. It's the pulling the people together that's really something that I love, and then seeing it as an actual printed object. That's cool. But I think publishing these days is interesting because it really can encompass, you know, web publishing, it can encompass physical printing, it can encompass lots of different, you know, magazines, lots of different aspects. So there are so many jobs within that field. I think that had I not taken an entrepreneurship class, I probably would have moved to San Francisco, or I would have moved to New York, and I'd be working for a publishing house right now. That's what I'd be doing, which I think would have been equally as exciting, because I, you know, would have gotten to work with kind of what they already have built and lots of exciting stuff. But I really like doing my own thing, and you know, the scary, who knows if we're gonna make ends meet, and kind of getting to create things all on my own, and not sleeping sometimes because you have so much work. It's good. I like it. I like the adrenaline rush. So it's good.